It's your boy ConcertViz34, and today I'm not talking about concerts like I usually do. I'm actually going to be talking about sports, and in the world of sports, I want to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes wearing the Whalers green and a little blue in there. And I'm coming to you as someone who loves the city of Hartford, was born and raised in Hartford County my entire life. That may skew my perspective a little bit, just living here all of my life, not moving out like the majority of my friends due to the taxes, the failed government, and just other issues. The roads are horrible here. It's not much to do in Hartford County itself. But I am I whatever is in Hartford, downtown Hartford, I support. I am a UConn hockey season ticket holder. I go to all sorts of concerts, which you'll see on this page here. Went to big events like Farm Aid this year, a bunch of other standalone concerts, Yard Goats, baseball. I've done it all. I do it all every year. Hartford Marathon and half marathon have done that every year since 2012. Two full marathons, the rest were halves. So I love the city of Hartford. I hate when people trash the city of Hartford, especially those who live in the suburban areas like I've grown up around, that come into Hartford, literally trash it for tailgating and all other stuff, and then leave it dirty. Yes, there's crime. Yes, there's issues, but it's a beautiful city and there's tons of things to do. The parks are beautiful as well. The riverfront recapture is amazing, especially in the summertime when it's warm out. But with that being said, I do want to give my thoughts. I did not plan this. I forgot until I woke up this morning on Twitter and saw that people are talking about the Whalers colors would be coming back with the Hurricane. Totally forgot, but I thought I'd just give a video of my thoughts. But I want to give you guys some perspective. I am 28 years old, and I am someone who's too young to be to remember the full experience of the Whalers. But I did their final season. I went to games at 6 and 6.5. But I'm old enough to remember the aftermath of the Whalers, being someone who got into hockey in about 1994, 1995 through my preschool and kindergarten years, where all these kids were talking about this sport called hockey. We were playing it because some kids played hockey. Their parents had played hockey, the previous generation. So I fell in love with the sport of hockey. And long story short, first hockey game, October 30th, 1996. Whalers Islanders ended up in a tie. I remember a goal being called off because there was an offside. That was my first ever professional hockey game, and then the last Whalers game was my second ever NHL game in April of '97. With that being said, while that was the beginning of my hockey passion and love, and I was building up from '94 to '96, and finally got to go to two games, that was the last Whalers game. Forever shaped my love of hockey. Ended up playing high school hockey at South Windsor High. We were #1 in the state for a little bit in 2008, my senior year. Played college at Eastern Connecticut State University. Club hockey helped start the beginnings of that program. A couple other kids had started it a year before I joined my junior year, 2010 to 2012. I played club hockey, and that program is great now. But hockey has been a part of my life. UConn season ticket holder. Been to over 100 games. If you count NHL, you count AHL, you count college hockey. I go to hockey games when I can, and I watch it. I have the NHL TV streaming package, and I support the Flyers. Keith Primo was a player that I grew to admire even after the Whalers left. When he went to Philly, I saw the core of that Philly team: Eric Lindros, Mark Recchi, John LeClaire, even Eric Desjardins back in the day. Those were players that I really admired, and I became a Flyers fan. Been a Flyers fan ever since. Been to pretty much every Flyers Bruins game since opening night of 2016, except one. So I love hockey. I'll start off with that. Now, what my thoughts are as someone who's a hockey fan in state of Connecticut, in Hartford County, is first, I think the Canes should let them use the logo. I'm not like, oh, you can't use the logo, like, and a lot of people assume, fans like me from the Hartford area, whether they were old enough for the Whalers or whether they're just someone who picked it up from their parents or their grandparents. They think that we're all bitter. I'm not bitter about the Whalers leaving. I'm disappointed, and it's sad. But I think the Canes should use the logo because it brings awareness to this history of hockey in Hartford, And there are a lot of kids that, again, I'm 28, so I was 6.5. I just remember portions of that Islanders game in '96, and I remember being in the crowd and seeing the speed of the game, of guys speeding through. I remember the Tampa Bay black jerseys, Rob Zaminer. I remember his numbers. I think his number 7. I remember him blazing by. I remember some of the speed of it, and I really don't remember plays that much. But I mean, again, people younger than me, they really didn't get they never really knew the Whalers because you were 5 or younger. But I mean, I was able to experience a little bit of that, but I'm not bitter about it. I'm just disappointed because after that, the crowd started they were big for AHL hockey, the Wolfpack, for a little bit, and then they started dying down. But I really think that the Canes using this logo brings awareness. And that's what's great is these kids, even in Hartford County, are going to start asking their parents. They may see this on social media. Hey, what was it like going to Whalers games? How bad were they? Oh, well, they were really bad, but people really supported them. Even hey, we beat Montreal once in one of the opening rounds of the playoffs, and we had a parade. They'll tell those stories. I think that's what's great about it. And then in the other states across the country, there are going to be hockey fans, parents, grandparents, mothers, fathers that are going to share how the Whalers were respected. The jersey was respected. The team was respected across the country, even though they were a small market team. And that's going to be a great educational experience for some of these other kids across the country that are 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so on. That's going to be something great for them. And the other thing that I want to point out is a lot of people are saying, "Oh, the Hurricanes it's a cash grab." Well, yeah, it is a money grab. I'm looking at the online sales, and they did sell quite well for this game. There's not a lot of empty. I mean, there's still empty seats, and the tickets they're still available right now. But this promotion did work in many ways. So it did work, but a lot of Whalers Hartford people are saying, "Oh yeah, they're broke. They're doing this just to create attention." Yeah, they're doing it to create attention, but the thing is, as much as the fan base has failed the Hurricanes, the actual revenue situation is pretty fine. I mean, Carmanos sold the Whalers for a pretty good price from what he paid back in the day to what he sold it for. He made money. He made a profit off this. And the other thing is, one thing I try to point out to Whalers fans, many of them are older than me, and they should know this. The TV money right now, when it comes to revenue that the NHL gets, even the MLB and the NFL and all that, the TV money right now is a very critical portion of how teams make their money. These season ticket drives and this, we got to get fans. It really doesn't matter. Matter of fact, the concession costs, they're better. And some teams like the Miami Marlins and the Florida Panthers, they're better off just playing their games in front of nobody and not having to worry about concessions costs or paying people in the stadium. So this whole thing of, sure, the Whalers, if they somehow we had a new arena magically, somehow our roads weren't as horrible as they are. 84 and 91 make no sense here. We have left exits, it's a mess. And let's say the Whalers had a pretty new venue, even if it was a 10-year-old venue, we definitely get more fans out now than the Hurricanes could ever get. But at the same time, the TV money for Carolina being the only team in that state, I'm sure they get a share of South Carolina. I'm sure parts of Virginia Beach. I don't know for sure. My dad's from Portsmouth. I should ask my family down there. I'm sure they have some pull in Southern Virginia. And obviously both of the Carolinas and even portions, maybe, I don't know, maybe they get portions of what's there, Tennessee. I'm sure they do. But that is why the TV money is so good that this team can have a poor fan base, can have 10 people show up. Dundon, the new owner, had to pack the rink or pack the lower bowl thing where they tried to move everyone down and fill up the place. They gave out free discounted tickets and they still couldn't get a base. So it's the one thing I'll say, the TV revenue is fine. But what's failed in Carolina is the fan support. Now, yes, there are fans down there. My brother, this is about 10 years ago, he went down to he had a tournament somewhere in the Mid-Atlantic, and there was a team from Carolina, and there probably wouldn't have been that travel hockey team from Carolina if the Hurricanes weren't there. But that's a team of maybe 15 players. So they have made an impact, and some people have looked into hockey because of the team being there, which is great. But the fan support's not there. You look on Twitter at the Empty Seats Picks. Look at him at Empty Seats Picks, and you'll see the Hurricanes are regularly featured. There's tons of people dressed up as empty seats for every single game for the Hurricanes. But the fan base has failed it. But also, to be fair, Carolina isn't a good. It's not a good. It's not North Carolina is not a good professional sports state. The city of Charlotte and the surrounding counties in Charlotte, I think it's Mecklenburg, and then you have Carabas County. There's a lot of people from here in Connecticut that are moving down there, and even with that, Charlotte Hornets basketball they can't get crowds. Michael Jordan goes to every game, and Charlotte can't get crowds. Carolina Panthers have had issues with their crowds depending on if they're hot or cold. So Carolina is a college sport, especially college basketball, heavy state. Tobacco Road, and that's really what they do. In NC State, the football teams are good here and there, and they get some crowds, but they're not a professional sports state because Charlotte is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. They can get fans. Raleigh area, I have an aunt down there who's a judge or magistrate out in the Raleigh-Durham area. There's people moving down there, but they're not going to Hurricanes hockey games. So the fan support has definitely failed, but North Carolina isn't a state that supports professional sports as much as they support their college basketball and some college football, high school football, etc. But why I think the fan base has failed is when you compare Carolina to Nashville, which has its little, it has a little fan base now, and we'll see how long that lasts if it's going to continue to go through. But Nashville does really well for a non-hockey market in the central time zone away from the Northeast. And they get some cold winters here and there, and especially in the mountains. But it's a country music town, and they're doing well. Tampa Bay, the team I saw back in the day, I think back in '97, they were playing in like the Thunderdome or something out there. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, they do when they're hot, they get crowds. They had a sellout. I remember watching the Flyers play last year in Tampa on NHL.tv, and the crowd was full. So Tampa is a success story. And then you look at the LA Kings now. I don't keep up the tabs with them that much, but I know the LA Kings, it was a hot ticket when they had those cup runs after the cup for a little bit. Shout out to my boy Quick. I don't know him, but he's from Connecticut, and many players that I've played with and skated with in various forms, they've either played with him, grew up in the same town as him. One of my old roommates was a good friend of his at Avon Old Farms. So Quick down there in LA, LA was buzzing about hockey, and Anaheim has deteriorated. They don't have good crowds, but LA does. I don't know what it is now, but they were getting crowds. In St. Louis, I don't consider it a hockey town. St. Louis has fans and season ticket holders that really support hockey, and it's not a hockey market, but it's been successful at getting crowds out there. And they had the whole Tarasenko era and Elliott and all those guys. I saw them play the Flyers back in, I think that was 2015, and that was when they were on fire. They still have a fan base there. I've seen some empty seats here, some pictures of empty seats in St. Louis, but these are cities that are non-traditional hockey markets that have a fan base. But ultimately, Carolina doesn't have that. But the TV money rules everything. And, I think one of the interesting things is if the Whalers actually got a team back, it would hurt. Travel-wise, it would help. It would definitely help all the local teams, even like my Flyers, just to go to Hartford instead of having to go to Carolina. It's a little bit of an easier ride there. Boston and New York, all those teams out there, Islanders, the Devils coming from Newark. Who doesn't want to leave Newark? But to go for the Devils, the Rangers, the Islanders, the Bruins, and even in some senses the Canadians and the Leafs and Buffalo, they would love to come to Hartford instead of going to Carolina. But it would help them financially that way. But with the Bruins, I think if the Whalers actually came back, they're not coming back, folks. I'm a diehard. I would love hockey here, but they're not coming back. One of the things that would impact is if the Whalers came back, Nesson, the revenue they make, the TV viewership they get, that which they can charge more for ad money, Nesson would take a ratings hit if a professional hockey team came to Hartford. The reason I say that is I'm 28. Again, I'm just using myself as a gauge. I'm just old enough to remember portions of the last Whalers game. I don't remember every play. But people that are younger than me, they all are Bruins fans. And some of them are Rangers fans. Some of them hopped on the Blackhawks bandwagon. And that's, oh yeah, Quinville played for the Whalers. You didn't even see Joe Quinville, okay? Or not play for, he was a coach there. Quinville coached in Hartford. Like, no, you never, bro, you're 17, fam. You're 8, and this is back when this is like 2010-ish. So I was 20, and I knew kids slightly younger. I'm like, you didn't know Quinville. You were in diapers. I was 6 and a half. I was just learning cursive. So, you have the bandwagon Blackhawks fans, which some of them are hopping off now because the Blackhawks, they struggling. But, I mean, these kids growing up in Hartford County, even out a county next to me, Litchfield County, I know Bruins fans out in Litchfield County that are they're really close to the New York State border, but they like the Sox. Some of them like the Patriots, and they support the Bruins. And they watch Nesson. There's so many, since I graduated high school in 2008. From 2008 to now, I've seen kids go to college in Boston or that just went to college somewhere else and then became Bruins fans. They never went to one of my high school hockey games. And again, we were #1 in the state. Our last year, we had pretty big crowds. We were, pretty much packing our barn here in South Windsor Arena. But you really, I've seen so many people, Bruins games now, in Eastern Connecticut and Central Connecticut, you have people traveling that typically Red Sox are the #1 thing to travel to for sports if you're leaving Northern Connecticut. People travel to Bruins games just as much as they travel to Red Sox games. I see on social media, I see friends talking to them and stuff. They go to Bruins games just as much. Now, yeah, the Red Sox have a bigger fan base, but I see from the 20-somethings and even some of the kids now that are just starting to be getting into college, they're going to Bruins games just as much as they go to Red Sox games. And when the Bruins are in the playoffs, everyone's watching here in Northern Connecticut. I really think if a team came back and they captured that fan base, Nesson would lose a little bit of its share, and so would the revenue. I mean, I see Bruins jerseys, all this, Bruins this and that. It would be Whalers stuff back in the 90s. Rangers a little bit, but the Rangers are more Fairfield and New Haven counties. But even New Haven County, people were driving up from Wallingford and West Haven to see the Whalers at times. Not as much as, the Bruins fans, a lot of those Whalers fans converted to the Bruins fans, but a lot of Whalers fans converted to the Rangers too. If you were south of Hartford, there's a real divide. And when you get to Hartford, things south of it, a lot of Yankees, Giants, Knicks, and then north of it is a lot of Red Sox, Bruins, etc. So I really think that a team, if it was to come back, and I know, Rangers and Bruins don't oppose a team coming back to Hartford, but it would eat into that market share for viewership at least. There'd still be tons of Bruins and Rangers fans that packed out, the XL Center or whatever that we would have here in Hartford. But, a team coming back, you would take all these kids that are getting into hockey. They love the speed. They love the passion. They love the energy of it. And these are kids that never played hockey, never went to high school games that I played in, are getting into the sport of hockey because of how great it is as a live product, how great it is when you have a HGTV. They would be taken over by a Whalers team coming back. But they're not coming back. Our state is in shambles. We have a budget crisis. We have too many superintendents and not enough teachers. We have roads that can barely handle traffic, and most people work from home now. Like a good percentage of the population here works from home, and we still have traffic issues because of the way the roads are. So, I mean, it's hopeless here. I support UConn hockey. I don't support the Wolfpack because I'm a Flyers fan now, and I go to see the Phantoms. I saw that game where no one showed up. It was the lowest attended, AHL game, I believe, of all time. But also the Red Sox are playing. That's not the excuse. They just, people aren't going to Wolfpack games. But I support the UConn hockey. It's been a fun thing seeing BU, BC, now UMass on its come up. I can't wait to see them next year. So I love hockey. I support local hockey around here. as much as I can outside of the Wolfpack, because again, they're just the Rangers, and the Rangers, I don't like the Rangers. They even look down on Hartford because it's from the Whalers days. But that's all I got. Well, it's 20 minutes, way too long. But definitely like, comment, subscribe. Not bitter. Think that this is good exposure, but the Hurricanes fans they love to poke fun at the Hartford fans, you know, it's your fan base sucks. Okay, you have the team, you have a team. Your market is more, you know, your market has more of a TV. It has a larger market, and there's more things to do. More people are leaving Connecticut and moving down to the Carolinas, but your fan base sucks. But hey, this is going to be a great thing for the exposure to Hartford. I don't see things getting better in Carolina. You won a cup, and the attendance already dropped, and now your team is horrible down there with my bad Flyers. So I mean, the future is not bright in Carolina fan wise or like on the ice, but you have a team, you have the TV market, you can make money just like the Marlins do, just like the Panthers do. You'll make money off the TV revenue and be good to go. But it's your boy ConcertViz34. Typically talk about concerts, but thought I would share some things about my thoughts on the Whalers here today. Like, comment, subscribe, agree, disagree, whatever. Share your mind. Share what's on your mind. I'm not one of those who's like, no, you can't disagree with me. Like, I like having conversations. I like learning. I like seeing perspective. Unlike some people here that don't, and they just stick to the thing. I like perspective. I like trying to be in your shoes as a Carolina fan who loves the Canes, even though no one else may like them in your area, and you have other season ticket friends. So tell me about that, you know. But that's it. I'm going to leave here. Peace.